Ho, ho, ho. You guys ever see our favorite president, Donald J. Trump, talk about the all-time stock market high and how the stimulus is going great and everything's wonderful with our economy? What does the data actually tell us? Because on the left, you hear it's the end of the world. On the right, you hear that America has never been more prosperous. Let's break down the data in 9 charts. But first, we got to warms it up. Hello, nerds! Nerds for humanity, or soon to be nerds for Yang, once Andrew M.F. Yang announces the mayor candidacy for New York. Who knows? Maybe he'll do it. If you missed it, I did a live stream a few days ago breaking down the polling data on why it's not totally crazy. I'm still holding out for the old Secretary of Commerce and maybe Small Business Administration, but I'd love Commerce. I don't think Biden has announced who he's going to have for those specific cabinet positions yet. So let's just take a look while we're here of what cabinet jobs are still available. You've got Attorney General. That's not going to happen. You've got Labor. Oh, that would be amazing. Not yet announced, Labor. Education, not yet announced. Where in the Sam Hill? Small Business Administration, not yet announced. So, Commerce is somewhere on this list. Commerce, yeah, here we go. Not yet announced. So, by the way, if you haven't already signed my petition, tinyurl.com/Yang Cabinet. And we're trying to get to 5,000. Looks like we're about 4,500. So while you're here, you might as well just go ahead and tinyurl.com/Yang-Cabinet. I'm going to put that in the chat cabinet. And then I'll also promote it in this little banner. Where be that banner? There it is. tinyurl.com/Yang Cabinet. Go sign that shit. I know a lot of people don't want Yang in the Biden administration because you hate Biden, but seriously, it's going to be big time experience, big time opportunity to make impact. You know, you got to serve in the White House that the country elected. So if Yang doesn't get a cabinet offer, I hope if he then runs for mayor of NYC, if he gets the Biden endorsement, that could be a huge deal. Biden and Harris both endorsing Yang for mayor. I would almost be treat those both options equal if I were Andrew. I'd be like, hey, either give me Commerce or don't give me Commerce, but endorse me for New York mayor. And if you're not going to do either, then All right. So you guys came here. Where's everybody joining me from? I had today off. My employer was very nice, and they gave us today off. I'm coming to you from the San Francisco Bay Area Peninsula. Where's everybody else joining from today? Go ahead, put it in the chat. Always curious where our Nerds for Humanity viewers are watching from. While I wait for that, let me get you guys warmed up with some data. So basically, we have a president who really loves to talk up the stock market. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he talks about it a lot. And so I guess the question is like, what's the deal? Is it really that good? Here are some examples of Trump, our current president, talking about the market. By the way, this Santa hat is very warm. December 9th, stock markets at new all-time highs. And he puts it like in caps, all capital letters. Stock market reaches new all-time high. Stock market getting very close to 30,000. Stock market up big. So Biden was a laughing stock. Oh, man. If Biden wins on October 20th, the stock market would be strangled. Ooh, good thing we listened to you, because Biden did win, but then you say it's at an all-time high. Weird. All right. So the question is, let's say, we got people sharing where they're from. Let me give some shout outs for we got Sydney, Australia. We have the Emerald City. Walnut. Is that Walnut Creek? I'm not sure. Santa Monica. Cal Poly. Vegas. Oh, man. I miss Vegas. I just played some poker the other day, virtually. Not quite the same, but I definitely lost the same amount of money. Colorado Springs, San Diego. All right. Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. Claremont. All right. So let's look at the New York Times did a nice little summary. Ella Keys just a couple days ago on how the economy is actually doing in 9 charts. So we're just I actually haven't looked at them in detail. So we're just going to be watching it together. Sarah from Portland, Charlie from Olympia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so you guys came for the data. It's 8 minutes. Enough of this putzing around, right? Here we go. I haven't seen these charts. This is the first time I'm looking at it. But as you know, the chart that Donald J. Trump wants us to focus on is, let's just say, U.S. stock market. All right. Let's see. Dow Jones. Here we go. Let's show you the chart that he likes to show, which is an impressive chart. This is the Dow Jones. If we look at the 5-year mark, so this is January of 17. Okay, so this is when Trump takes office. And if we zoom out a little further, here we go. This is when Trump takes office. This is apparently, this trend here was the terrible, terrible, terrible Obama presidency when the economy just was in the toilet. See this? And then here is when the great Donald Trump took over. And clearly, it's just a huge difference in the slope of the line. Just kidding. But at any rate, he would say, hey, look, yeah, the market took a big dump in the spring, but now it's at 29,000. So this is great. And then if you look at the Nasdaq, I think it's even better. Nasdaq. So again, 2008. This is the Obama era. And then 16 here. This is the Trump one. So actually the market's done really, really well. Look at this. Nasdaq at 12,755. So based on those numbers, you could argue like, my God, this place is, we're fine. Everything's amazing. We're all just can't get enough of this. So let's see what charts the good old New York Times has put together. And we'll look at the sources too, but I suspect, okay, this source of this one is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is run, under the auspices of the Trump administration. And the labor force participation rate is the share of working age people who are part of the labor force, employed, temporarily laid off, or actively searching for work. So to be clear, if you're not looking for work, you're no longer part of the labor force. And as you can see here, it used to be around 63%, and now it's down to 61%. So 40% of working age people are no longer part of the labor force. They've just elected not to work, or they've given up. But you can interpret that any number any way you want. You probably would imagine that it should be higher, but if we were to compare labor force participation rate by country, see if I can find what it is in other countries. Okay, here we go. I actually have some more data. All right, let's look at this one. Share. So if you look here, who has the highest would be Yemen, Nepal, Tanzania, where it's like 80%. If you say, hey, don't compare us to these small countries, like let's say Germany. Germany is 61, trending up. Let's say United Kingdom. Yeah, 63. US 62. Although I guess if you look at the trends over time, the spark line here, ours is going down. UK is going up. What about Canada? Let's see if we can find our buddies up north. Canada 65, also trending down. So I would say, all in all, in terms of labor participation rate, I'm not going to say that Trump did a terrible job. I think it seems not that different. Maybe the narrative that Trump is giving is that everything's like amazing. I don't know if I'd say it's amazing. It's just like, all right, it's fine in terms of labor participation rate, at least relative to other countries. And now Andrew Yang would say, hey, it's low because people are not able to get jobs, and it's low across the board for developing countries because they're all struggling with automation and stuff. And that might be true. But anyway, that's that chart. Now let's look at the next one. The number of people who have been out of work long term. All right. So in January of 19, it was about 20% have been unemployed 27 weeks or more. And now 37%. Almost 4 out of 10 people have been unemployed for darn near half a year. And that seems to be going up. So this would probably conflict with the sort of the Trump kind of all caps narrative, which is that everything is awesome and look at me, I've done such a great job, all time high, very close to 30,000, everything's great. But if you think about, well, if everything's great, why are almost 40% of the people long-term unemployed versus 20% less than a year ago? So now some people may be thinking, well, it was those crazy Democrats that wanted to shut down the entire economy. If you look at Asia, those dudes have mitigated their COVID. They didn't need the vaccine even. They basically just masked, distanced, temperature checked, and then ironically, for a president who always talks about being strong on the border, they don't require mandatory quarantine when people come from other countries into the US. For sure, crossing state borders, there's nothing. And if you think about anyone who traveled for Thanksgiving, ask them if they did temperature checks when you even got on the plane and just flew across the country and spread the virus all around. Ask them if when you got on that United Airlines plane, did they ask you to show proof of a negative recent test? Probably not. But yeah, so, and as a result, what happens is if you don't mitigate and you just act like there's nothing wrong, then you get so bad that you have to shut down, and then that really screws the economy. But that is a nuance that seems to be lost on the president. Luckily, we won't have to be under his leadership for much longer. It's just like 30-something days. Next chart. Unemployment has fallen from the worst months, but gaps among demographic groups have widened. So this is the unemployment rate. Let's see here. Here's the color key. So for men, black men, the unemployment rate is 11%. Now, before we said long-term unemployment, this is now just short-term unemployment. 11%, Hispanic 8%, Asian and white is around 6% for men. And then women are a little better off, interestingly enough. Black women is 9%, Hispanic 8%, Asian 7%, and then the white women have the lowest unemployment, only 5%. So if you don't want to be unemployed and you had to pick a demographic group, looks like the white women are doing the best, and then the black men are doing the worst in terms of unemployment. That's people who are not employed and are actively looking for work. Okay. Now let's talk about families and their basic needs. Experiencing food scarcity and housing insecurity. And the source for this one is the U.S. Census Bureau. So again, this is not some like AOC's private diary. This is the United States Census Bureau. And it turns out that 1 out of every 8 are experiencing food scarcity, and 1 out of 11 are experiencing housing insecurity. And that's gone up from 7% to 9% and 10% to 12%. So about, looks like around 30% increase in housing insecurity just in the last few months. This is just since September of this year. And food scarcity has gone up about 30% in the last few months. So again, yes, the stock market is struggling, but I'm sorry, the stock market is setting new records, but the families seem to be struggling. At least 12% of them struggle with food and 9% struggle with housing. All right, now rent and home prices you would think prices should come down. Turns out since January of 19, it's actually gone up from, I guess, this index of 100 to 105. So about 5% up and 11% up for home prices. That is really tough. Now that's quite a cocktail for people to try and handle, in that you've got more unemployment, more food insecurity, and then the prices of rent and prices of housing have gone up. So, yes, President Trump, you are right that stock market's doing great, but a lot of people have to pay rent, and a lot of people need to try and buy a house. And if you're in that camp, you've got rising prices and rising unemployment and rising food insecurity. All right. So don't want 4 more years of that. Next. Now this is good news. Total monthly wages and salaries has gone from 9 trillion to even higher than January of 2019 to 9.6 trillion. There was a point where it went all the way down to looks like 8.6 trillion. So this is good. So this is a nice encouraging sign of hopefully what will be a recovery soon. And we're certainly having more monthly wages than we did a year ago. Yeah, just a little bit more, but still more. So that's encouraging. So it might be that unemployment is up. Now, this is perhaps another Yang 2020 kind of, as Uninsurable says, K-shaped recovery, where you've got people are making more money for the people that do have jobs, but there's more people that don't have jobs. So if you don't have a job, you're screwed. If you do have a job, you might actually be making more now than you did a year ago. So you almost wonder, should there be like an economic floor for everybody? But obviously, if you're on the Nerds for Humanity channel, you know there should be. Okay, next chart. And then we're going to do a little break, but let me do one more chart here. So the economy has been so there's been a reduction in spending on services, which makes sense. So if you are in the business of providing services, like let's say you have a nail salon or you have a gym or you're a personal trainer, yeah, that's tough. That's down 8%. But if you sell things like you deliver groceries or you sell, products, then things are actually not that bad. In fact, they're actually better than the fourth quarter of 2019 in terms of consumer spending. So basically, spending looks like it's similar, but it's just shifted from services to goods. And I probably can attest to that as well. Don't you notice that you're spending more like on Amazon stuff than going to restaurants or travel, that kind of thing? I have more charts, but before I continue, I do want to give a quick shout out to some of the folks who make this channel possible. Let's start with our highest level EVP, Kristen Slevin. Thank you, Kristen. Darn near. Can you hear me now? Yeah. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, so Kristen Slevin, thank you for supporting the channel. Very much appreciated. And let me move on to the next level, which is the VP. And we've got total time as member. We'll go by the old school supporters. VLAM, JM Sat, Fat Lamb, Soldier One, Laura Lane, Joshua Frick, Patrick Dunn, Mindful Skeptics. Love it. And then we have the next level down is Hardcore. And we're going to give a big thank you to Mike Chang, Gene Lim, David, Tracy Mesa, DK, Landline, Phoenix Congress, Jekka Lego, Kirsch Thiva, Mr. History Fan, Byram Hess, Mona Burton, Susan Clifton, Yang Deng, Robert Wu, Dean L, and Stat Nerd. Love it. Great name, Stat Nerd. All right, now then the last level is verified. And we're going to thank Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Hitachi, your mom, Jadwiga, Sophia, Gail, Shake, Mike, Doris, Emerald, Nell, Lori, Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Tony, Rasta, Ryan, Jessica, Blair Walsingham, Bike, James, Jalopy, Aaron, Emma, Joel, Spirited, Kay, Hui, Stephen, Ira, and Shoni. So thank you to those members for making this channel possible. And if you can join as a member, remember, if you join as a member, all the money, super chats as well, everything goes to promoting the channel, investing in more content. I don't use it for any personal purchases. It's all for the Nerds for Humanity content. All right, now let's look at some more charts. Here we go. New business applications. This is encouraging. Compared to January of this year, remember, obviously the spring was terrible, but they're up 43%. So it is encouraging. Is it like through the roof? Nah, maybe not, but it's pretty good. And this is a great sign that people are feeling like, things might be getting better or looking up, and they're optimistic. Let's see here. I think those were the 9 charts. So in summary, businesses are starting. People are buying more stuff. If you have a job, you're making more money. But houses and housing is getting more expensive. And about 1 out of 10 of your community are experiencing food and housing scarcity and insecurity, respectively. Households experiencing food scarcity are those in which there was sometimes or often not enough to eat in the past 7 days. People experiencing housing insecurity are those who are behind on rent or mortgage, have slight or no confidence that their household can make next month's rent or mortgage. And that describes about 1 out of 10. Yeah, I think the sometimes or often not enough to eat in the last 7 days, if that describes 1 out of, 8, 1 out of 7 people, I think that is the definition of a K-shaped recovery, right? How can we be celebrating the Nasdaq and the all-time stock market high, even the new business starts and the more spending on consumer goods and new businesses getting formed, if 1 out of 10 can't eat or be housed? So you don't hear the president talk about that a lot. I don't know what his solution is. I know what Andrew Yang's is. I wonder if any of these 1 out of 10 would benefit from $1,000 a month. because according to some of these other charts, parts of the economy are doing very, very well. And you just got to wonder what would happen. Like, basically, let's look at this, the Nasdaq, okay? Nasdaq Index. So you've got this chart. This is a tale of two charts. I wish I could share two simultaneously. Unfortunately, I cannot. But you've got this chart, right? Look at this. No wonder Trump is happy. This is a great chart, man. Look at this. This is fantastic, right? If you go to the max level, look at that. This is incredible. So how do we reconcile this Nasdaq chart, which is down 0.07% today, but barely anything, down barely anything. It's looking amazing, right? How do you reconcile this chart with this chart, right? You got one chart where people are making money hand over fist. And for those of you who have a large amount of your net worth in the stock market, congratulations. I have to admit, I own a little bit of stock, decent amount, to be honest. But I would be fine paying a VAT of 10%, so that when I buy my fancy headphones or, you know, my new ottoman or whatever I'm buying, like, some of that goes to these guys. And I'm fine with that, because if I can afford a leather ottoman, I can pay another 10% if it helps the entire country have a basic economic floor. What I don't like, now here's the libertarian in me, what I don't like is paying more taxes and then having it go to these like random federal programs that are poorly managed and taken advantage of. And I'd rather just have the cash go to people equally. But that's just my libertarian side speaking. Okay, any questions in the audience that I can answer? Because I think those were the key charts I wanted to share on the economy. I might be able to look for other ones. Let's see. State of the U.S. economy charts. While I look for that, let me know if you guys have any topics. Ooh, I might have found some more charts for us. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. What is this? The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities has a bunch of nice charts. I wonder if we have time to look at them. But this just goes to early 2020. We need something that comes a little bit later than that. Okay, let's see if there's any questions. Well, first of all, Nell, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Tamar is saying, I'm working from home. There was no need to trash the USA. The country has two camps: total bravado, I wear no mask and don't care about others, versus people afraid to leave home. Yeah, there is a third camp, which is leave home responsibly. Wear a mask, keep 6 feet apart. You know, there's that third camp. But I agree with you that there was for sure polarization, and I wish there wasn't as much, but as the president says, it is in Trump's world, it is what it is. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Nell. Oh, thanks for being a member, by the way. I see a lot of members in the chat. Landline's in there. Jennifer, how's my brother Peter doing? You know, let's see on my family politics chat what nonsense he's spewing. Okay. Oh, he sent me a link to a live stream of Trump electors STS coalition holding a press conference on Capitol Hill. And then he sent me a Breitbart article saying that Joe Biden's border promises are creating a migrant wave. And then he sent me a video of Kylie McEnany slamming the media. So if I had to summarize, Peter has not changed at all since we last talked to him. He is convinced that President Trump really won the election, that there's no way that more people would vote for Joe Biden because Biden's such a terrible candidate. And what I would say to Peter is that's how much people hate Trump, that Biden won with record votes. That speaks more about Trump than Biden, frankly. Anyway, so that's the answer to your question. Mike CK is saying, hey, I'm all for reducing income tax and leaning on consumption. I agree. America need to collectively declutter. Yeah, we do have a lot of stuff. Yes. Now, you and I, I think a few weeks ago, 49% of Republicans believed that Trump was going to be inaugurated again. Tamar, don't you think we could have worn masks and followed guidelines, kept many businesses open with testing and contact tracing? Come on, we are medically and technically advanced enough. Yes. But in order to do that, you would need some leadership. And we didn't really get that, So you would need a president that basically saying this is not a hoax. This is not the flu. Watch me. If I'm going to have an event in the Rose Garden, we're all going to wear masks and we're going to be 6 feet apart and we're going to take temperatures. And that wasn't what he did, right? And there wasn't a lot of money. And in fact, he said we're doing too much testing. He said, "Oh, come on! If you don't like how many cases there are, then just do less testing." So I agree with you, Tamar, that I wish it were different, but sadly, it is not. And when you think about let's see, COVID stats. If you think about how we compare to other countries, let's take a quick look here, since we're talking about the COVID. Here we go. So right now, worldwide, we have 76 million cases, 1.7 million deaths. Luckily, 53 million did recover. This is the worldwide chart for daily new cases and daily deaths. Worldwide, we are having about 13,000 deaths on December 17th. And here it is, the information by country. So the U.S., we have total deaths at 320,000, added 2,000 most recently. And if we say yesterday, added 3,400 yesterday. But we're not the only ones. Brazil added 1,000 yesterday. The UK added 500 deaths yesterday. Germany added 700. Let's see. Israel added 16. That's a small country. Japan, pretty big country, added 51 deaths. Let's see. Finland added 12 deaths. Where's Germany? Germany's a pretty big country. Let's sort by country. Germany added 724. France added 376. Canada added 100 deaths. So in terms of new deaths, it's not like other countries haven't, but we're definitely leading the world in deaths per day. Like no other country in the world has more deaths than America from COVID. Now you could be saying, "Oh well, come on, the deaths is America's a big country." So luckily, the great statisticians do provide us with the deaths per 1 million in population. In which case, we have less deaths per 1 million in population than Italy, which had 1,000 deaths per million. But we have 958 deaths per million. Germany has 300 deaths per million population. The UK death rate and US death rate are fairly similar. And France is fairly similar. So in terms of who's doing the best, I'm not sure Europe is the best example. I might say if you look at, let's see. Whoops. Let's do it by alphabetical. So remember, the deaths per million for US is around 900. And if you look at Japan, the deaths per 1 million is 22. And they're actually closer to China than the US. If you look at Korea, oh, I don't have Korea here. Maybe it's under South Korea. If you look at South Korea, don't have it. What about Singapore? Do I have Singapore? Singapore, the deaths per million is 5. And then let's say Canada, which is a fellow North American. Canada deaths per million is 367. I mean, they're literally on the same continent as us. They have, 1/3. We have almost 3 times the amount of people dying than they do. So, that's basically a quick summary. We are leading the world in deaths, but we're not leading the world in deaths per 1 million. If you control for population, that honor goes to Belgium, Italy, Peru, Spain. Then you get to UK and the US. And then you've got a bunch of countries that have far less deaths per million than us. I won't name them all. There's too many. Yeah. But I agree. I feel like we could have done more. And Landline makes a important point that death rate isn't telling the full story. That it's obviously, if you get hospitalized, that's a pretty intense experience. It's very expensive. And if you survive, a lot of people are worried about long-term damage to your lungs, brain function, ability of your cells to carry oxygen. We really just don't know. We don't know what the long-term effects are. So if you haven't gotten COVID yet, see if you can hold out till you get vaccinated. This is not one of those things where, I know a few months ago, there were people having like COVID parties, like purposely trying to infect themselves. And even if you survive, don't take, it's unclear if you're going to have COVID effects for many, many years later. All right. So I think that is a good stream. I have to make dinner for the Nerds family now, but I want to wish everybody, let me tell you, I've got a couple of great shows coming up. So let me just tell you what's coming up this weekend. I'm going to be on Ching Jules' channel. She's a lady that's making one of the documentaries about Yang, so I'm going to be a guest on her channel. And then Oh, on Sunday, I'm going to have a gentleman who goes by the nickname The Mooch on the Nerds for Humanity live stream. Anthony Scaramucci will be here with me on Sunday at 8:30 Pacific in the morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. So make sure you tune in for that. And then later on Sunday, I'm going to be a guest on Trumper for Yang's panel discussion. I think he might have Paget on there, and maybe one of the Heidis. So that'll be interesting. I think we're going to talk about Yang running for mayor, good, bad. So I'm going to be on Ching Jules and Trumper for Yang, and then the Mooch is coming on my show. So it'll be a nice, fun, busy weekend. If you haven't already, please like and share so we can grow interest in Nerds content. But with that, I'm going to say goodbye, nerds. Merry Christmas, nerds. Happy New Year, nerds. Stay healthy. Happy Hanukkah. Happy winter holiday. Just happy Friday. Today's Friday as well. So there you got it. See you next time.